In 1989, 16-year-old Amy Widener was a student at Thomas Carr Howe High School in Indianapolis. 2 years earlier, she had balanced honors classes with the birth of her daughter Emily, a feat of resilience that saw her back in the classroom just 6 days after delivery. On November 13th, Amy stayed home from school with a sore throat. She kept 2-year-old Emily with her, a routine decision that left the teenage mother alone in the house with her toddler for the morning. When her mother, Gloria, returned home later that afternoon, she found a scene of extreme violence. Amy had been beaten, sexually assaulted, and strangled in her own bedroom. Police found Emily in the room with her mother. The 2-year-old was physically unharmed, but she had been left alone to wander the house in the aftermath of the attack. The brutality occurring inside a busy, multi-generational household shattered the family's sense of safety, leaving the surviving Wideners in a state of constant, localized terror. On the bedroom wall, directly above the scene, the killer left a bloody palm print. Investigators in 1989 recognized the weight of this evidence. They physically cut the section of drywall out of the house, preserving the original ridge detail of the print for future analysis. With a preserved palm print in the evidence locker, the family and the police expected a quick resolution. They were holding a piece of the killer's body. Instead, the case went cold. The trail vanished, and the section of drywall sat in an archive for 24 years, while the family lived through a decades-long nightmare of paranoia. It remains a central paradox of the investigation. The police possessed definitive physical proof of the killer's presence, yet the person who left it remained invisible to the justice system. The original homicide detectives centered their investigation on a single hypothesis: a residential robbery gone wrong. They tracked a few specific items stolen from the home, including cash and a graphic equalizer belonging to Amy's older brother, John Paul. This focus led police to cast a wide dragnet over the brother's immediate social circle. They spent months interrogating his closest friends, taking fingerprints and hair samples from dozens of local teenagers. Because none of the close friends matched the print on the wall, the investigation stalled. Detectives believed they had exhausted their leads, missing a peripheral acquaintance who was known to frequent the house. The 1989 investigation was limited by this institutional tunnel vision. By narrowing the scope of inquiry to the most obvious suspects, detectives overlooked the names sitting on the edges of their own files. In 2011, friends of Amy created a Remembering Amy Widener Facebook page. The memorial page grew quickly, collecting stories and photographs that had been tucked away for over 2 decades. When the cold case unit looked into the page, they asked for help from Detective Sergeant Bill Carter. Carter wasn't a homicide detective. He worked in nuisance abatement, handling neighborhood code violations and civil complaints. Carter was initially asked to just print the contents of the page for the file, but after seeing Amy's face and speaking with her mother, he began reviewing the 65-page case file on his own time. Carter approached the file without the professional biases of a seasoned homicide investigator. He started from the beginning, looking at the names of every neighbor and acquaintance mentioned in the original 1989 notes. His search led him to a name the original detectives had never formally questioned: Rodney Denk. Denk had been a friend of Amy's brother, but he sat just outside the primary circle of suspects targeted in the initial investigation. Carter discovered Denk had an arrest record for battery and larceny from the 1990s. This provided the latent prints department with a direct comparison for the bloody drywall preserved since the murder. After 22 years, the lab returned a result. Rodney Denk's palm print was a perfect match for the print left on the Widener's bedroom wall. Carter contacted Denk to set a meeting. Denk initially agreed to talk, but instead, he abandoned his mother's home and fled the city in a rental car. Detectives used the car's OnStar GPS system to track him. When they closed in, Denk attempted to take his own life with a knife, just moments before he was apprehended by the fugitive task force. The intersection of modern database tracking and a simple recanvassing of old names ended a mystery that had lasted nearly a quarter-century. From a hospital bed, Denk confessed to the murder. He claimed he entered the house to steal stereos, was surprised by Amy, and hit her in the head to silence her. When asked about the 2-year-old in the room, Denk told detectives he never even saw or heard the baby while he was committing the assault. In 2013, Rodney Denk pleaded guilty to murder and rape, receiving a 65-year prison sentence. The case ended with a dark generational footnote. At the time of Denk's conviction, his own teenage son was already in prison for the 2009 murder of his own mother. The legal process concluded a cycle of violence that spanned 2 families, ending only when Denk died in his prison cell in September of 2025. The resolution of the case forced the Widener family to face a disturbing reality. The person who killed Amy wasn't a faceless intruder, but a boy who had fished and ridden bikes with her brother. 2 days after the murder, Denk sat among the family at the funeral home. He signed the Guestbook, mourning alongside the people whose lives he had just destroyed. For 24 years, the Widners lived in a state of paranoia, unaware that the killer was a familiar fixture of their own neighborhood who had stayed hidden in plain sight. Solving these cases depends on a willingness to abandon rigid assumptions. It requires the persistence to look past the obvious and investigate the names sitting in the blind spots of human proximity.